Hi, I'm Mr. Zone, and if you're watching this, you probably have some questions about grammar. Here come the answers. Okay, let's talk about verbs for a minute, verbs in Spanish, of course. We have infinitives, which are verbs that name an action, but no one is performing that action in the sentence. And in Spanish, you can identify them because they end in either AR or ER or IR. In fact, any word in the Spanish language that ends in those letters, AR, ER, or IR, is a verb, and you can be sure that it's an infinitive form. In English, we call that infinitive, or sometimes called a to form of a verb, because often, in fact, more times than not, the word to precedes the verb. To walk, to run, to jump, to scream, etc. But that's not enough to know infinitives. You also have to be able to conjugate verbs so that you can assign an actor to that verb. Instead of saying, for instance, to be, you might want to say I am, or he is, or she is. So we're going to teach you how to conjugate verbs. We'll start with regular AR verb conjugations. Watch this. All right, so how do you conjugate regular AR verbs? It's actually pretty simple. If you look here, nadar, the verb to swim, is composed of two parts, as are all other verbs. We have what we call the ending, in this case it's AR, an infinitive, and what's left. What's left over we call the stem. In order to conjugate the verb, that is, if you don't want to say to swim, but you want to say I swim, or you swim, or he swims, etc., you simply drop the ending altogether. You end up with a stem, N-A-D. If you want to say I swim, yo nado. You replace the AR with an O. If you want to say you, familiar you swim, then you drop the AR and you replace that with an AS. So you end up with nadas. If you want to say he swims or she swims or the formal you, usted, then you drop the AR from the infinitive and you replace it with the letter A. You end up with the word nada. And if you want to say nosotros, we, then you say nadamos, A-M-O-S is what you're replacing the AR with. If you want to say they or you all, the plural you swim, then you keep the stem N-A-D just like you did with all these others, and your replacement ending is A-N. Nosotros nadamos, we swim. Ellos or ustedes nadan, they or you all swim. Él nada, he swims. Ella nada, she swims. Usted nada, formal you swim. Tú nadas, informal, you swim. And yo nado, of course, I swim. Make sense? So we've looked at AR ending verbs and regular ones. Now let's look at ER. You'll notice I have the verb comer, which means to eat. It, of course, ends in ER, tells us it's an infinitive, the to form of a verb. We have, again, an ending ER, and we have the stem of the verb, what's left over. That's COM in this case. And we do exactly like we did with the AR verbs. In fact, if all you think about, if you memorize the AR conjugations, think about everywhere there's an A, you just replace it with an E, and that is the ER verb conjugations. In the yo form, yo como, same as AR. In the to form, instead of being AS, you end up with ES. Everywhere there's an A in the AR conjugations, you replace it with an E. You end up with yo como, I eat. Tú comes, you eat, informal. He, she, or usted. Él, ella, or usted, the formal you, come. Nosotros comemos, and ellos, or ustedes. They, or the formal, the plural you, eat, comen, en. Simple. Memorize ARs first, and then when you're going to conjugate an ER, everywhere there's an A, replace it with an E. And you'll be right. When you go to IR ending verbs like vivir, it's even easier. They're exactly like ER, except in the nosotros form. So, no change. O, ES, E, here comes a change. Imos. Vivimos would be we live. And then EN. Exactly like ER verbs, except in the nosotros form. In fact, the nosotros form is a good way to guide yourself. AR, AMOS. ER, EMOS. IR ending verbs, IMOS. That's all there's to it. Takes a little bit of time to get used to it or to practice it. But once you do the ARs, the change to E is really simple. And then when you go to IRs, it's even simpler yet.